Okay, so today's topical video, we're going to talk about the nuclear bomb, and we're going to talk about Hiroshima, and if I approve of it or not. So the nuclear bomb, the atom bomb, the hydrogen bomb, whatever you want to call it, should we make them illegal? Nope, because who would regulate it in the first place? Plus, it's better nukes are registered to begin with instead of having something as scary as a nuclear black market. Plus, we all know how nuclear bombs work, and the information is out there for any government to make one. They exist, so we just have to deal with them. Like I said, uranium, like I said, it splits up the atom. We all know how it works, so anyone can get access to the blueprints. So now, although the nukes cause a lot of money, people argue they should just be scrapped, so we can better our stability. However, the point of the nuke is more of a fear factor than an actual weapon. The whole point of the nuke is to not use it. The nuke is a bit like the BMW, you know, your grandpa only uses at weddings to impress his buddies, but any other time it just sits in the driveway for most of the year, so... Now, nukes save lives. Yes, nukes save lives. People only think of these as bombs, but they can be used for nuclear energy can be used for cancer research and lots of other things, not just weaponry. But even as a weapon, the nuke still saves lives. If America did not drop the dirty on Japan, chances are the Japanese would not have surrendered and the war would have continued for 20 more years in the Pacific, killing more Americans and Japanese than the first nuclear bomb. Fat man. The nukes justified. Was it justified? Yes, because at the time Japan was an imperial force which had a vast empire in East Asia and planning to encircle the entire land of the Pacific. The Japanese also, well, had some fascist-like teachings and were brutal to their victims, causing huge genocides in China and Korea. Plus, Japan did attack America first in Pearl Harbor. That's the very first time someone else attacked America instead of America attacking someone else. So, although I don't believe America's response to 9/11 was justified, I think that was a bit over excessive force. If it was true or not, I'll make a video about that later. A country like that invading an agricultural country called Afghanistan to a more urban but also non-threatening Iraq. However, the Japanese were conquering land all over and they had to be stopped. Also, if it wasn't for the nukes, the Cold War wouldn't have been so cold. Because when both sides had a bomb which has the power to cause annihilation on both sides, it's a lot more risky to push the red button and go to war compared to just the artillery and land troop days of World War I and World War II. So yes, nukes save lives. However, if we allow one country to have a nuke and no one else, this is dangerous, as this will cause a bully scenario in which everyone will be afraid of that one country just because they have the nuke. And if we have just two countries, like the Cold War, that have the nuke, also bad, because this creates a Cold War environment, and if everyone has nukes, well, some governments can't be trusted, and other countries have troubled areas. Imagine the Somali government having nukes, then Al-Shabaab gets a hold of them. Weak governments can't have nukes. It's irony that Iran, a stable country, can't have nukes, but Pakistan, which can't even eliminate the Taliban, can have nukes. So just imagine if those tribal areas in Pakistan, controlled by the Taliban, managed to topple some of the government forces and get a hold of Pakistan centrifuges. So it's a bit contradictory. In my opinion, every stable country can have access to nukes. But terrorists getting nukes is not a worry. It's cyber hackers, as nukes are controlled by computers, so you do the math. Imagine some genius in his basement hacking America's nuclear strikes to hit China. So another, or like WikiLeaks or something. You don't know. Another thing that bothers me is we're so scared of nuclear wars, terrorists, serial killers, drugs, rapists, but we give a blind eye to diseases. You can't go to war with a disease, so why do they check my bag for bombs, pistols and dime bags, but they don't check my temperature? Yes, I support screening in airports because disease is no joke. Yes, it's no longer, but we need an international community. We can't afford another plague happening. Now, I thank West Africa, despite being a poor nation and also having to deal with malaria and HIV, managed to restrict the spread of Ebola. But the Zika virus in Brazil is a new disease. It's going to come in which we're not going to see coming, and we must be alert. I worry with the popularity of 3D printing, people will manage to print the amino acids to make genetic codes of Ebola cells and use it as chemical warfare, so that's scary. Now, ISIS and Ebola both came around about in the same time zones, and people were suggesting, oh, why don't we just drop Ebola bombs on ISIS? That's a stupid idea, as it would affect us all, because just look how many Syrians fled to Germany during the war. See how much of that would backfire. People also suggest, oh, we should just nuke the Middle East. How absurd. Not only are you an ass for the complete loss of civilian life, but just imagine the amount of radiation left by bombing an entire region of the world. The Middle East and the Islamic world is just across the Mediterranean Sea from Europe, which at its narrowest point is only 8 miles. If you nuke the Middle East, you nuke Europe. Because guess what? Radiation doesn't care about borders. Basically, and do you think China and Russia would just allow America or the West to drop a nuke as they please? No, whoever drops the next big one is literally going to start World War III. Now, every country has a right to defend itself. When I say that, I mean North Korea. Any country with a strong government and strong control can be allowed to have a nuclear weapon. But a country struggling for control, like Pakistan in its own borders, or countries going into austerity like Greece, and any country that looks like it's going to go into a political revolution, should also not be allowed to have nukes. And also, you shouldn't be able to have nukes in foreign soil, like how America does. Unions should not be able to have nukes, only states separately. There should be no IAEA, because any country can infiltrate the international nuclear system. Countries should just make nukes of their own accord and just register where they have it or not. They don't have to tell, but can at least give one centrifuge as an example that they have nuclear weapons. Because how stupid is it telling the rest of the world that you have nuclear weapons and having to register how much nuclear warheads you have? Dumb idea. Suicide idea. There should be a GDP limit which marks stability, and if a country marks high on it, then it can be allowed to have the nuke. This will prevent third world governments from making nukes. Countries under sanctions but still stable but have assets frozen, as long as the government have good control, they can have nukes. Because like I said, nukes cause peace. This system works best, but it's all cyber warfare now and drones. With drones you can still drop shells, and if it gets shot down, no worries, no life was lost, no pilot. Also, if we just have these robot wars, then people will become so detached from war if they're just killing people on computer screens that there'll be no morals in it at all. I like the idea of Amazon drones, but military drones, nope. But unfortunately, if your enemy has a weapon, you have to have a better weapon. The innovation's behind war, that's the point. So if people are making these drones, you have to as well. But I urge you, these Star Wars scenarios are dangerous. Artificial intelligence may be dangerous. What if our own creation is our own demise? What if our artificial intel of a species before us and we wipe them out? I've said this before. And I believe the US have something scarier, a scarier weapon than a nuke. I believe they have one without radiation. I also believe they have the ability to control countries' weather. That's the biggest weapon mankind can have. So, yeah. But the biggest weapon a man can have is the media. Yep, media, because you can propagate the media. You don't even have to have the nuke to invade a country. You just lie to the entire world that someone has a nuke in case of Iraq. and you have the rest of the world fighting in wars. Most media companies are owned by the same people who make their media empires bigger by selling off other media outlets. They even have shares in media outlets in other countries. What use is a chemical weapon when you can just say Assad used chemical weapons and have a 22 country coalition against that one country? So what good is in it to have a nuke? You're North Korea and the entire world is against you anyways. What would they do? Nuke the entire world? And then be stripped of it anyways? One country, even with a nuke, still can't wipe out the whole world on its own, but the camera is now bigger than the gun. Now, with anyone being able to run independent media now on the internet and create vast diverse amount of information, we don't need BBC and CNN to tell us what to do. But remember, when TV started off, you had so many TV programs that you now have all probably seen today under the banner of Disney, and that's why they had to do these NSA surveillance in the first place, to try and regain control of these sort of information wars. So sorry if I went a bit off topic near the end. I started talking about the media and stuff, but yeah, nukes. I approve of them, and I've already gave you a system in which government should be allowed to have them under a stable as long as they have a stable economic limit, and if they go below the GDP limit and are gonna go into a revolution or gonna go into bankruptcy, then they should be stripped of their nukes. So how do I do that? I don't know. I'm just talking about a nuclear registration program. I'm not talking about stripping nukes from other people. So yeah. But if they are, so yeah, in my opinion, I wish all governments were stable and they all had nukes, because then nobody would be causing wars with anyone, because then mutually assured destruction would be applied everywhere. Not just with Russia, China and America, but everywhere. But like I said, you have some territories under anarchy, you have some territories under economic depression, so to give everyone a nuke is a bit of a bad idea. So yeah, that's just my thought on it, and I do approve of the nuke that dropped in Japan, and nuclear energy isn't always about bombs. It can be about cancer research and stuff. So that's just to summarise the entire video. So let me end this video with a blast, and peace.